It was a normal day on Earth when the message came. People were busy with their lives, unaware that everything was about to change. The skies above every city turned dark as a strange ship appeared in the atmosphere. It was massive, bigger than anything humans had ever seen, and it didn't look like anything from Earth. The ship hovered over the world's capitals for hours. No one knew what it wanted. Some thought it was a new kind of weapon, others thought it was an alien invasion. But no one could be sure. Then, the message began. A deep, booming voice echoed across the planet, in every language known to man. Humans of Earth, your species is at the edge of extinction. You have failed to prove yourselves worthy of survival. But we are giving you a chance, a final opportunity to show your strength, your power, and your will to survive. The words hit the people of Earth like a thunderclap. Panic spread through the streets, and confusion gripped the world's leaders. What did this mean? Who were these aliens? Why had they come? The voice continued. We are the Joran, an ancient and powerful race from the galaxy. We have watched your species for centuries. Your planet is weak, divided, and fragile. But there is a way for you to redeem yourselves. We present to you the Gladiator Trials. The crowd in the streets of every city froze. The Gladiator Trials? What were they talking about? The voice explained, you will send your best fighters to face our challenges. The winner will not only survive, but earn the right to lead your people into the future. Fail, and your planet will be destroyed. You have 1 week to prepare. Choose wisely, Earth. The broadcast ended as suddenly as it had started, and the sky cleared up. The massive ship was gone. No one knew where it had gone or why it left so quickly. People rushed to their televisions, radios, and phones to find out what to do, but there was no answer. The world was in chaos. How could they prepare for something like this? How could they fight against beings from another galaxy? As the days passed, the world's leaders met in secret, trying to come up with a plan. Some countries wanted to send their best soldiers. Others wanted to use weapons, but everyone knew that this wasn't going to be an easy fight. The Joran were powerful, and they had already made it clear that their challenges were not something to be taken lightly. Then, the unexpected happened. In every country, people began to volunteer for the Gladiator Trials. They weren't soldiers or trained fighters. They were ordinary people, farmers, teachers, mechanics, and students. They were brave, but they weren't ready for what they were about to face. Among them was Alex, a young man from a small town. He had always been told he wasn't strong enough, smart enough, or brave enough. But when he heard the message from the Joran, something inside him stirred. He wasn't going to sit back and watch as the world was destroyed. He wasn't going to let fear control him. Alex made a decision. He would enter the Gladiator Trials. He didn't know what to expect, but he knew one thing: he had to fight for his future. He had to fight for Earth. The day of the trials arrived, and the world watched as the first group of fighters stepped into the arena. There were hundreds of them from all over the world, each of them knowing that this could be their last chance to prove humanity's worth. Alex stood among them, nervous but determined. The Joran had promised that these trials would be unlike anything Earth had ever seen. What kind of tests would they face? What kind of creatures or challenges would they have to survive? Alex didn't know, but he wasn't going to back down. Voice of the Joran echoed through the arena, deep and commanding. Welcome, humans. You have entered the Gladiator Trials. Your first challenge will begin shortly. Prepare yourselves. The fighters, including Alex, stood in silence, the weight of what they were about to face hanging over them. They had no idea what would happen next. Some were shaking, some were crying, but all of them were ready to fight. As the gates to the arena opened, Alex took a deep breath. He didn't know what was coming, but he was ready. He wasn't going to let Earth be destroyed without a fight. The Gladiator Trials had begun, and Alex was about to take the first step into a battle that would change everything. The air in the arena was thick with tension as the fighters stood in their starting positions. The world watched as their first test was about to begin, but no one could have guessed what was coming. The Joran had promised that these trials would push them to their limits, but no one understood just how far that would go. Alex stood near the front, his heart pounding. He could feel the eyes of billions of people on him, but it wasn't the pressure of being watched that made him nervous. It was the strange silence around him. No one spoke. The other fighters were just as confused and scared as he was. They had no idea what the first challenge would be, but they all shared one common thought. They were about to face something terrifying. Suddenly, the ground beneath them rumbled. The air seemed to vibrate with an unnatural force. The Joran's voice filled the arena, cold and emotionless. "Your first challenge is simple," it said. "Survive." Before anyone could react, the arena doors slammed shut with a deafening noise. The walls around them shifted, and the ground began to break apart. Alex felt his feet shake as the very earth seemed to split open. Out of the cracks, creatures unlike anything on Earth began to emerge. Massive, multi-legged beasts with glowing eyes, scales that shimmered like metal, and teeth as sharp as knives. They hissed and growled as they slowly moved toward the fighters. Alex's blood ran cold. These creatures were unlike anything he had ever seen. They were fast, powerful, and had the kind of predatory look that made his instincts scream, "Run!" But running wasn't an option. He had no choice but to stand and fight. The creatures surged forward, their sharp claws slicing through the air. One of them lunged at a fighter nearby, its teeth sinking into the man's arm. The fighter screamed in pain, trying to fight back, but it was too late. The creature dragged him into the shadows, his screams echoing as the others watched helplessly. Alex's breath caught in his throat. This was real. This wasn't a game or some kind of test for the weak. The Joran had meant what they said. This was a fight for survival. But Alex didn't have time to think. One of the creatures was charging toward him. He instinctively stepped back, his body moving before his mind could even process the danger. He grabbed a nearby weapon, a long, jagged metal rod, and raised it just as the creature lunged at him. The beast's claws scraped across the rod with a loud screech, sending sparks flying. Alex's arm shook from the impact, but he held on, pushing back with all his strength. The creature hissed, its jaws snapping dangerously close to his face. He could feel its hot breath and smell the foul stench of its teeth, but Alex wasn't going to let fear control him. He swung the rod with all his might, striking the creature across its face. The creature screeched in pain, stumbling backward. For a moment, Alex thought he might have won, but the beast wasn't done. It snarled and charged again, even more furious than before. This time, Alex didn't hesitate. He ducked, rolling under the creature's attack, and then drove the rod into its side. With a final roar, the creature collapsed, twitching violently before lying still. Alex stood over the creature, his breath ragged. He couldn't believe what had just happened. The arena was filled with chaos as other fighters were battling the creatures as well, some surviving, others falling to the beasts. The Joran's voice echoed through the arena once more. "Congratulations. You have completed your first challenge. For now, the survivors will move on to the next test. But remember, the trials only get harder from here." Alex's body was covered in sweat, his heart still racing. He had just fought for his life, and in that moment, he knew that Earth's fate was in his hands. There was no turning back now. The Gladiator Trials had begun, and only the strongest would survive. The second challenge had been brutal. The Joran's trials were unlike anything Alex had imagined. The first challenge, fighting alien creatures, was terrifying enough, but this time, the stakes were different. The survivors had been herded into a new arena, an open, dark space surrounded by towering walls that seemed to pulse with an eerie energy. The ground was uneven, Covered with strange obstacles that seemed to shift and move on their own, Alex stood among the remaining fighters, his muscles sore from the previous battles. The arena felt different now, quieter somehow. The adrenaline from the first challenge had worn off, and now the fight was more mental. More than ever, he could feel the weight of the world's expectations on his shoulders. He wasn't just fighting for survival, he was fighting for humanity. The Joran's voice boomed from above. This next trial is a test of strategy. You will be split into teams. The last team standing will move on. The arena lights flickered before shutting off completely. A moment of darkness passed, and then the ground rumbled again. When the lights flickered back on, the fighters saw the first twist of the trial. They weren't alone in the arena anymore. Hidden in the shadows, other beings, humanoid creatures from across the galaxy, were watching, their glowing eyes gleaming. In the darkness, it was clear that the Joran had placed them there as an extra challenge. Alex turned to look at the others. He recognized a few of the faces, some he had fought alongside, others who had been enemies in the first trial. They were all looking at one another, sizing each other up. No one knew whom to trust. Alliances were fragile here. A voice called out from the crowd. We should stick together. We have a better chance if we team up. It was Jason, a fighter Alex had fought alongside before. Jason was tough, quick, and had proven himself in previous challenges. He was the kind of fighter you'd want on your team. But Alex hesitated. There was something in Jason's eyes, a flicker of something. That didn't sit right with him. Before Alex could respond, another voice spoke up. It was a woman named Sophia, who had fought fiercely in the last trial. Trust no one, she warned. We can't risk relying on anyone else. Jason shot her a glance. You think you can win this alone? He scoffed. You'll need help. We all will. Alex didn't know whom to believe. Both of them made sense in different ways. But one thing was certain, trust would be their greatest weapon and their greatest weakness. Everyone was playing the game, and it wasn't just the Joran who were. The fight began with a rush of movement. Alex found himself teamed up with Jason and Sophia, but things quickly turned sour. As the battle raged on, Alex's instincts began to flare up. Something was off. He wasn't just facing strange alien creatures anymore. He was facing betrayal. Sophia had been cornered by two other fighters, and Alex rushed to help. He fought off one of the enemies, knocking him to the ground. As he turned to help Sophia, he saw Jason, his so-called ally, staring at him with cold, calculating eyes. Before Alex could react, Jason lunged at him. What are you doing? Alex shouted, barely dodging Jason's attack. Jason grinned, a wicked smile spreading across his face. You're too weak. I've been planning this from the beginning. This isn't about teamwork, Alex. It's about survival. He lunged again, but this time Alex was ready. The betrayal cut deeper than any alien blade. Alex fought back, pushing Jason away with a raw strength born of shock and anger. Sophia, hearing the commotion, turned and rushed over to help. Stop it! This isn't how we win, she yelled, but it was too late. The damage was done. Alex's mind raced. He had always known that trust would be a luxury he couldn't afford, but never had he imagined someone he had fought beside would turn on him so quickly. Jason was ruthless. He had only been using Alex to get ahead. And now Alex was left with only one choice. Fight back or die. Sophia finally intervened, using a sharp makeshift weapon to knock Jason off balance. He stumbled, and in that moment, Alex landed a punch that sent Jason crashing to the ground. As Jason lay there, gasping for air, Alex felt a strange sense of relief, but also something darker. This was no longer a game. It was survival, pure and simple. The Joran's voice echoed through the arena, cold and detached. Only one can emerge from this trial. Continue to fight until only one remains. Alex stared at the fallen Jason. Betrayal was everywhere. The Joran had made it clear that no one could be trusted. He didn't know who would turn on him next. But one thing was for sure, he wasn't going to let anyone else get the better of him. Not again. The trial was far from over, and the real fight had only just begun. The arena shifted once more, and this time, the change was subtle yet sinister. Alex stood at the center, feeling the weight of the last challenge still heavy on his shoulders. His body was battered, his mind exhausted from the betrayals and the endless fighting. He didn't know what to expect now, but whatever it was, it couldn't be worse than what he had already survived. But as the ground beneath him rumbled, he realized this next challenge was going to be different. It wasn't physical. It was something far more dangerous. The Joran's voice echoed from the unseen speakers. This trial is one of the mind. Your fears will manifest here, in this arena. You must face them and survive. Fail, and you will. Not only lose your chance at victory, but you will lose yourself. Alex's stomach twisted in knots. What did they mean by lose yourself? He had already faced physical dangers, but this was something else. He had no idea how his mind would hold up under this kind of pressure. Suddenly, the ground beneath him cracked open, revealing a deep, dark pit. As Alex peered into the abyss, something strange began to happen. The air around him shifted, growing colder, thicker. He could hear whispers, soft voices in the back of his mind. Voices he recognized, voices from his past. Alex ... You're not strong enough ... The whispers grew louder, more insistent, swirling around him like a storm. He closed his eyes, trying to block them out, but they only grew stronger. Images began to flash before him, scenes of his childhood, moments when he had felt small, weak, and helpless. His father standing over him, telling him he would never amount to anything. His classmates laughing as he struggled to fit in. His mother holding him back, saying it was better to avoid the dangers of the world. You're a failure, the voices taunted. Alex's heart raced. He shook his head, trying to focus. He had to stay calm. This wasn't real. This was just a trick. But no matter how hard he tried to convince himself, the fear and doubt kept creeping in. It was like they were pulling at him from all directions, trying to drag him into that dark pit. You'll never survive, the voices whispered again. Alex's hands trembled. He wanted to run, to escape, but there was no way out. The arena had transformed into a twisted reflection of his deepest fears. He had to face them. If he didn't, he would be swallowed whole by his own insecurities. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus. He knew he couldn't let the doubts control him. He had made it this far by pushing through, by not letting the world define him. He wasn't the weak kid from his past anymore. He had become something more. Something stronger. Alex stepped forward, his mind racing. The whispers were still there, but he ignored them, pushing forward one step at a time. As he walked, the images of his past began to fade, replaced by something more real, his friends, his allies, the people who had stood by him through thick and thin. Their faces filled his mind, giving him the strength to keep moving, and then, as if by magic, the dark pit before him began to close. The voices faded, and the arena began to shift back into something more familiar. It wasn't just an illusion, it was a test, and Alex had passed. The Joran's voice returned, colder than ever. You have faced your mind, Alex, but beware. The next trial will be even more dangerous. Prepare yourself. Alex stood still for a moment, his body trembling, but he was no longer afraid. He had faced the darkest parts of his soul and survived. This challenge had been a test, not of strength, but of will. And he had proven that no matter what the Joran threw at him, he would not break. As the arena returned to its eerie silence, Alex took a deep breath, ready for whatever came next. The trials were far from over, but he was ready to face whatever horrors lay ahead. The sound of silence was deafening as Alex stood in the center of the new arena. Gone were the days of unpredictable beasts and treacherous mind games. This challenge wasn't like any of the others. The Joran had promised that the trials would only get harder, and now Alex could feel the weight of their words. The arena walls were massive, towering high above, covered in strange glowing symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. There was no way out, no hidden tricks, just a vast open space. And in the distance, standing tall and imposing, was the figure that had caused Alex's heart to race with both fear and determination, the alien champion. The creature was a sight to behold. It was at least 8 feet tall, its body covered in shimmering dark armor that reflected the arena lights in an almost mesmerizing way. Its eyes glowed with an eerie yellow light, and its features were sharp, alien, nothing like the beings Alex had faced before. This was a creature bred for combat, a warrior from another galaxy, trained and forged in battle for centuries. Alex felt a rush of adrenaline. He wasn't afraid, not now, not after everything he had already survived. But he knew this would be his toughest test. This wasn't just about surviving another challenge. This was about proving humanity's strength in front of the entire galaxy. The Joran's voice echoed once more, filling the arena with its chilling tone. Fighters of Earth, you have come far, but now you will face the ultimate trial. This is the final challenge, the greatest test of them all. Defeat the alien champion, and you will earn your place in the galaxy. Fail, and your species will fall. Alex tightened his grip on the weapon he'd been given, a long, jagged spear, its edges gleaming with an unnatural light. The Joran had said it would be a test of strength, but Alex knew it would take more than just raw power to defeat this opponent. He would need strategy, precision, and everything he had learned from the trials before. The alien champion stepped forward, its massive feet thundering against the ground with every step. It raised its weapon, a long curved blade, and locked eyes with Alex. In that moment, Alex knew there would be no turning back. This wasn't just a fight for survival. This was a fight for Earth's future. Without warning, the champion lunged, its speed shocking Alex despite its size. The blade was a blur, cutting through the air with a sound like thunder. Alex barely managed to dodge, his heart pounding in his chest. The ground where he had been standing just moments before was now sliced clean through, leaving a deep, jagged mark in the dirt. Alex's mind raced. He couldn't match the champion's raw power, but he had one advantage: humanity's resilience. He wasn't the strongest, but he had something the alien didn't: heart. The champion might be fast, but Alex was resourceful. The alien moved like it was programmed for battle, calculating and precise, but Alex was willing to take risks. He had nothing to lose. As the champion swung again, Alex ducked and rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the strike. He had to keep moving, keep the champion off balance. He couldn't fight this alien head-on. He needed to find its weakness. Then it happened. The champion hesitated for a fraction of a second, a slight, almost imperceptible pause. It was just enough for Alex to see his opening. With a speed he didn't know he had, Alex launched himself forward, his spear aimed straight at the champion's exposed side. The spear struck with a resounding thud, but the champion's armor didn't give way. It was made of something far tougher than anything Alex had ever encountered. But it wasn't just the spear that Alex relied on, it was the angle, the force of the strike, and the element of surprise. The alien staggered back, the force of the blow throwing it off balance. Alex didn't wait for it to recover. He pressed forward, aiming for the weak points in the champion's armor. Every strike calculated to force the alien into a defensive position. The champion growled, its rage growing. It swung its blade in a furious arc, trying to catch Alex off guard. But Alex was ready this time. He ducked low, using the champion's own momentum to slip behind it, and with a powerful shove, he sent the alien crashing into the ground. Impact reverberated through the arena, and for a moment, Everything went quiet. The alien champion struggled to rise, but Alex could see the weariness in its movements. The fight was far from over, but Alex knew he had a chance. He wasn't going to win by overpowering the alien. He was going to win by outsmarting it, by using its own strength against it. The Joran's voice echoed once more, cold and detached. The trials are not yet finished, Earthling. But you have shown courage, and perhaps a glimpse of what your species is capable of. Alex stood over the fallen champion, his body battered, his mind racing. This was the fight of his life. And he had won. The dust of the arena still clung to Alex's clothes as he stood, breathing heavily, watching the fallen form of the alien champion. He had done it. He had survived the ultimate challenge, and the entire galaxy was watching. But instead of triumph, all Alex could feel was a deep, aching emptiness. He wasn't just fighting for his own survival anymore. He was fighting for something bigger, something that carried the weight of every human who had ever doubted them. The silence that followed the champion's defeat was almost unbearable. For a moment, Alex thought the Joran had cut off the broadcast, that they were no longer watching. But then, the Joran's cold voice boomed, louder than before. Fighter from Earth, you have done the impossible. You have survived the trials and defeated the greatest champion in the galaxy. But the real test begins now. Prove to us that your species is not just a fleeting spark in the vastness of the universe. The walls of the arena shimmered, and in an instant, the entire space transformed. The floor beneath Alex's feet turned to a reflective mirror-like surface, stretching infinitely in all directions. The air felt heavier, as if the universe itself was watching, waiting for the next move. Suddenly the broadcast feed shifted, showing billions of alien faces from across the galaxy, their eyes glowing with curiosity and skepticism. Alex could feel their gaze calculating, studying, judging. To them, he wasn't just a fighter anymore. He was the representative of Earth. He was the first human to step beyond their home planet and face the trials of the galaxy. He wasn't just fighting for survival. He was fighting for humanity's place among the stars. The Joran's voice again broke through the silence. The galaxy has watched, Earthling. We have seen your strength, your will to survive. But strength alone does not command respect. Your species has much to prove. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. The weight of those words pressed on him more than any blow from the alien champion had. He had faced countless dangers, but this was different. This was about more than just him. This was about humanity itself, about showing the galaxy that Earth wasn't just a weak, insignificant planet to be ignored. He straightened, taking a deep breath. There was no turning back now. The trials had been brutal, but they had also changed. He was no longer the boy who had been afraid of failure. He was the man who had conquered fear, who had pushed past every limit, and who had defied every expectation. The arena shimmered again, and a new figure appeared before him. It was a Joran, the same one who had announced the trials. Its massive form was cloaked in dark, flowing robes, and its eyes glowed with an almost unnatural intensity. It studied Alex for a moment before speaking again, its voice dripping with disdain. You have proven yourself a worthy fighter, human. But we are not convinced that your species is fit to stand among us. What is your answer, Earthling? Will you accept our challenge to prove that humanity is more than just the sum of your strength? Will you show us that your species has the capacity for greatness, or will you fall like so many others before you? The Joran's question hung in the air like a challenge Alex could not refuse. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for the future of humanity. If he failed, Earth would be nothing more than a footnote in the galaxy's history, a species lost to the void. Alex's mind raced as he looked up at the galaxy's representatives. He could feel their eyes on him, their judgment waiting to be passed. He had no idea what kind of challenge the Joran would present next, but he knew one thing: he couldn't back down. He wouldn't. Humanity will not bow to anyone, Alex sighed, his voice steady, even in the face of overwhelming odds. We will rise, we will fight, and we will prove ourselves worthy. The Joran's glowing eyes narrowed, a faint smile crossing its alien face. Very well, Earthling. You have shown resolve. But the galaxy is not as kind as you believe. The next trial will test not your strength, but your mind, your heart, and your soul. Prepare yourself, for your true challenge has only just begun. As the Joran faded into the shadows, Alex stood alone in the arena. The galaxy was watching, waiting for humanity's next move. And for the first time in his life, Alex knew that what he did next would change everything. The Joran had given him a choice to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. It wasn't just a fight anymore. It was a declaration. The arena had fallen silent, the Joran's voice echoing one last time in Alex's ears. The final trial was over, but the weight of everything that had happened still pressed on him. His body was battered, his spirit worn thin from the trials. But he stood tall. This moment wasn't just the end of a challenge, it was the beginning of something far greater. As the ground beneath him trembled one last time, the arena shifted. The walls that had once seemed so imposing now began to recede, disappearing into the distance, leaving Alex standing alone in an empty space. The strange alien sky above him slowly dimmed, and a sense of peace settled over the arena. The endless gaze of the galaxy's representatives had faded, but their judgment still lingered, hanging in the air like an invisible force. Alex glanced around. The battle was over. The trials had come to an end. But something had changed. He had changed. Behind him, a shimmering portal began to form. At first, it was a faint ripple in the air, but soon it grew brighter, solidifying into a doorway that stretched into a new, unknown world. Alex could feel the pull of it, like the very universe was calling him forward. The Joran's voice returned, now softer, almost contemplative. You have passed the trials, Earthling. You have shown strength beyond what we expected, but your journey does not end here. The galaxy watches, but more importantly, the future of your species now lies in your hands. Alex's heart raced. It had all come down to this moment. The Joran had kept their word. Earth had earned its place in the galaxy. But the trials had been more than just a test of strength or survival. They had been a test of what humanity could become when faced with the impossible. Alex had proven that Earth wasn't weak, wasn't fragile. It was a force to be reckoned with. And now, the galaxy was waiting for humanity to show what it could truly accomplish. You have earned the respect of many, Earthling, the Joran continued. But respect is only the beginning. The real work starts now. As the portal shimmered, Alex understood. This wasn't just about surviving the trials, it was about what came next. The galaxy had recognized humanity's potential, but now it was up to him, to all of Earth, to prove they could lead, to show that they weren't just participants in the universe, they were players. With a deep breath, Alex stepped forward, his heart filled with a new sense of purpose. He had faced the fiercest warriors, fought through mind-bending trials, and stood strong in the face of betrayal and fear. He had survived the impossible. But that wasn't the end of his story. It was just the beginning. Behind him, the echoes of the trials faded away, replaced by the hum of the portal, the promise of a future that was now within reach. Alex didn't know what lay beyond it, but he knew one thing: he wasn't going to face it alone. Earth had proved itself, and now the galaxy would have to reckon with humanity's resolve. As he stepped through the portal, the light surrounding him brightened, and the weight of the world's judgment faded. The next chapter was about to begin, and Alex was ready to lead humanity into a future where anything was possible.